Today we are going to be talking about food. So I recently came across this millennial food pyramid, and I saw at the bottom of it was alcohol, which signifies that millennials consume a lot of alcohol. I want to have your opinion, guys. Like, do you think we as millennials drink a lot of alcohol?
I can definitely speak for some of my friends who drink like shitloads. As a way of, I don't know, it's kind of, for me, it's understandable, especially if you are under a lot of pressure. You have a stressful job, and on weekends you would probably want to go out and just have some fun, drinking with friends. But for me personally, I don't drink because I don't think it's healthy.
You don't drink at all, or do you drink in moderation?
Not even in moderation, like very rarely nowadays. Also because I want to keep my fitness goals, and it kind of gets in the way of like me getting there. So I prefer not to drink most of the time.
Yeah, so personally, I don't drink at all either. So I'm not surprised though, looking at some of my friends or people in my age, like it seems to be a common thing to drink a lot. However, I was recently talking to a friend and he was telling me that in New York, especially gyms and fitness is becoming the new thing. Like people don't meet in clubs anymore. Instead, they like just go to the gym and meet in gyms, which is or exercise classes, which is a much cooler thing, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I also see that as like getting, like the newest thing or trend, like a popular thing among friends. They would rather say on a Saturday morning meeting at a boxing gym than. But I mean, there's still a lot of people going to like nightclubs and drink.
Or like at a craft class, like as a fashion designer, like stitching some stuff or like doing embroidery, making paper, whatever it is, like anything. But it has necessarily not something to do with alcohol, so.
Okay, so let me get this thing straight. Rika, you are a German, and Germans call beer as liquid bread, and you're telling me you don't drink at all?
Yeah, I don't drink. I'm not really a fan. It never really had a very big effect on me when I started like drinking with friends at 16. I remember being at a friend's house and she had a swimming pool and in Germany, which is pretty cool during the year, so I didn't really see the point in that. But my friends were drinking significantly less than I did, and I was still acting very, very sober. Like I didn't really feel the effect, and this has kind of like continued throughout the years, so I have never really felt the urge or had the thrill, like felt a thrill in drinking alcohol.
So all the alcohol that a typical German could drink in his or her lifetime, you've already reached past that point.
No, I doubt that. That's definitely not it. But
okay, I get the point. Like, not to stereotype or anything, but most of my German friends are very heavy drinkers.
Yeah, it's kind of like in our culture. Like I'm not a part of that, but I remember, I don't know if I should share this on a podcast, but actually my parents were encouraging us to drink when I was really young because they wanted us to get drunk at home, literally. Well, they were not training us, but they wanted to build down the barrier of getting drunk like randomly with friends. And I think for me, that has worked. For my brothers, well, especially one probably not very well, but the other one is also not very interested in alcohol. My sister also doesn't drink, so it has worked in some ways. Like,
do you think people are becoming like more and more conscious and more picky with their food? Because I think now that we have all this customization options, people sometimes take it too far because there would be a guy at Starbucks saying that, I want my coffee to be like, mildly, like the milk has to be mildly foamed and it has to have like 2 spoons of, this with like a little bit of that and then a little bit of cinnamon on the top. And I'm like, that's too many instructions. Like, while growing up, for me, it was like, yeah, this is tea, this is coffee, and this is milk. So do you think we as millennials are taking it too far in terms of like the customization options?
I feel like that level of sophistication is just beyond my level. Because my understanding of like food like I mean, of course, I would like to go check out like, you know, a Michelin star restaurant where they serve like 5-course meals, 5-course dishes. But for me, like, as long as, you know, it's healthy, like it's whole foods that I'm consuming, that I'm aware of, you know, as long as I'm conscious what I'm taking in my system, it's like, it's fine. I don't care as much like how it's, the food is like how it's processed.
So what's your favorite food right now?
Right now, German beer.
Ooh, I thought you don't drink anymore.
No. Favorite food. I mean, I tend to, if I have to name one, soba,
Japanese noodle.
Japanese noodle.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I'm like sober. Like, how is that?
Like beer, from beer to sober.
What do you think, Rika? Like, do you order like complicated stuff like that, or do you?
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely into that. Like I usually eat gluten-free. I always eat gluten-free by now, and then I don't have lactose sometimes too, besides chocolate and cheesecake. So yeah, like for people who have allergies or intolerances against certain foods, it makes total sense to have customization options available. Somewhere where I don't understand it is coffee, because personally I don't drink coffee, and then when I have a jet lag and I come to New York, I do drink a coffee, but I have no clue what all these 20 different sorts of coffees mean or how strong they are. I only know I like almond milk or how's it called? I only know I like almond milk or this bean milk. How's it called? Oat milk. I love oat milk.
That's also the thing. Like, there's one thing I don't really understand about like the coffee culture in New York. Maybe there's some couple other places in the US as well. Is that they charge for like plant-based milk. Like when you go to a coffee shop, they would charge like 75 cents or like $1 for.
Yeah. So I have a confession. Like, I'm really into coffee, okay, and I try to experiment with different kinds of teas and coffees, and mainly because as you know, part of fitness.
Oh God, he drinks coffee. Bye. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I drink coffee, and I drink a lot of it actually every day. The thing is, as part of my fitness, I want to cut down on milk as much as possible. And although it has protein, it also has fat. So I initially would have tea in breakfast, which would have milk and sugar. Then I cut down on sugar, and I would just have tea that has milk. Then I switched to black tea. But then black tea does not have nearly enough caffeine content as coffee does. So then I switched to coffee because I still need to wake up in the morning, but still not like, consume fatty stuff. So it's that. But I think there's this thing called the third wave coffee right now. So Blue Bottle Coffee, Stumptown Coffee Roasters, these are all like, there's new age coffee shops where they look at coffee as work of art. So kind of like craft beer, where they have like very special process of making it. And what I have found with them is that they're very expensive. Yes, like a typical mocha would be like $4 or $5 at Starbucks, and at Blue Bottle it would be like $7.50. And if you're using oat milk, that is like $8.50 or something like that, and then you leave a tip. So it gets like close to $10 for one cup of coffee, which is ridiculous. But people who appreciate it, they consume it on a fairly regular basis. I'm not one of them, because although I appreciate coffee, I'm still poor at the end of the day. So I am usually just like, rolling with my Americano. But yeah, I have a friend. She would like go to restaurants, and then she would order, can I have a little bit of coffee? And then they would be like, yeah, sure. And then say, do you have coconut milk? And they would say, yes. And then say, instead of sugar, can you do honey? And that's where like most people say no. And you should see the reaction on her face. It's like somebody had like, I don't know, asked her to donate kidneys or something like that. And she's like pissed, like, what? You do not have honey as an artificial sweetener? Like, no, ma'am, we just have brown sugar and white sugar. So like it's like I know so many people who unnecessarily complicate stuff like that. But it's good to know that, okay, while one of them is fairly simple, one of them like to avoid certain things. But okay, moving forward, Is there a food item from a different culture that you tried and really fell in love with?
Mochi.
Mochi ice cream?
Yeah, I think this glutinous rice thing, I don't even know.
And then there's ice cream in the center?
No, that's also good. That's mochi ice cream.
The glutinous like balls, right? The yeah. It's the mochi ball. It's like the dumpling, the Chinese dumpling. It's similar. We had like the Chinese glutinous rice balls. Yeah, like with the sesame stuffing, but it also comes like it's basically like ice cream inside, right?
No, this one doesn't have ice cream inside. It's like, I forgot how it's called. I just had one, literally. Doesn't matter, but it's something Japanese, I think.
What about you, Jay?
I don't know. Like I appreciate a lot of food. Wait, sorry. What was the question?
A food that you tried from a different culture and fell in love with.
I stick to my Chinese food.
You can say dosa.
Oh no. Chinese food is my favorite food still.
No, I'm not saying that's something that you tried and it made you forget your cuisine. Okay. It's something that, like, you tried that is outside of your cuisine and you enjoy eating it.
Okay, so I tried. Okay, most recently I went to Miami and there was this Dominican restaurant where they served like what's it called, a mofonga, which is basically like beef stripes. They put like the insides of the beef, which sounds like gross. It's a beef inside, like in a soup, and that was surprisingly tasty. And I reflect on this. The reason was there's actually something like this in China as well. Especially you can get something like this in Guangdong, like the Hong Kong region.
Yeah.
You get like they literally make stuff from like the insides of animals. Like
That's the thing about China. They don't discriminate. They kill and eat everything.
But like even in sausages, like the way you make sausage, it's actually the darm, the stomach of the pig, and then they put the meat inside this stomach of the pig. Not stomach, but like the bowl. I don't know, intestine. Intestine. It's like a long thing, and they cut it in pieces. So then they close it, and that's the sausage then.
Yeah, I've seen that on television where it's like this semi-translucent whitish kind of tube, and that they fill it up with the meat, and then they pack it. Yeah, so I've seen that, but I'm a vegetarian, and I I tried hot pot when I was in Cambridge, and unknowingly it's something that I discovered by accident. One of my friends told me that, hey, I'm going to eat hot pot with some of my friends. Would you like to join? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I didn't know what was hot pot until I arrived at a table that had like 10 Chinese people, all of them speaking in Mandarin. And I was there sitting wondering that, okay, when's the food gonna arrive? But the hot pot that I had a spicy broth and had a mild broth. And they specially made it for me as a vegetarian. They made it differently because I was a vegetarian, and I really enjoyed that because the whole idea of like putting something into a pot that has boiling soup and it infuses that flavor, and then you retain the original flavor of whatever you're putting inside and the flavor of the soup was very different from what I typically experience in my cuisine, which is Indian. So yeah, I think that was really interesting for me to discover that, okay, hot pot is my new favorite, and 2 years later it's still my favorite. I can eat it pretty much every other day. One food that really makes you cringe, or one food that you really don't like. What do you think, Jay?
snake, maybe.
Okay.
Because they carry a virus. Because they would kill people.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Okay. Snakes. Actually, there's a tribe in the state of Gujarat, where I'm originally from, where they actually find a snake and they kill it, and then they consume the raw skin of it or something like that. Some tribe in my home state, but in Saputara for Gujarati listeners. But it's Yeah, I was surprised when I first saw, like, I've seen fish like hanging from like places where people are trying to sell them, but when I saw snakes, I'm like, people really eat that thing? And like, yeah, a lot of tribals here like them. But that's one thing about snakes. But what about you, Rika? One thing you don't like?
Mm, I don't know. So I lived in the UK, and the food you get there is not precisely the best, I'd say. That's not something the UK is famous for. So I ate this canteen food for years, which had basically no flavors, and then I'm not very...
It basically killed all your taste buds, so now you can have anything as far as it's gluten free.
I can have a lot of lemon on things, and I'm still happy. But I was refusing, while I was visiting China, I was refusing to have turtle and bugs.
Turtle? Like turtle. Turtle. Oh my god. My cousin, he literally just sent me a photo of like turtle they cooked for the Chinese New Year dinner. Like, I feel bad saying this, and please don't judge me. I grew up eating them turtles.
But now we are judging you, so
It's so good though. Like, I don't think that there's another name. So in Chinese, there's a 乌龟, which means turtle, and 甲鱼, which is the edible version of turtle. It looks exactly like a turtle, except it's edible. I mean, I guess like the turtles that we usually associate like the ocean with, they're probably also edible.
I mean, if you can kill it and put it in your mouth, it's edible. Isn't everything edible that way?
I'm not sure they're gonna be as good as like the ones we grew up eating.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Go catch one and kill it and have it.
Oh my god, this podcast is getting dark.
This comes out of the mouth of a vegetarian. I'm really surprised.
I think we have already derailed this podcast. No, okay. So, for me, I think I recently tried Vegemite, which is an Australian thing. And
Is it like Marmite?
it is like Marmite. I don't like Marmite.
Except it's a lot worse.
Yeah, but a lot worse. The thing is, one of my best friends, she's Australian, and she told me, like, you gotta try Vegemite, mate. It's amazing. And I thought, like, yeah, well, it's Australian, and she's my friend, so I mean, like, of course, it should be fun. So the Australian restaurant that we went to in Murray Hill, they had Vegemite toast as one of the items for breakfast. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, let's order this. And I was with a Vietnamese friend. And so the Marmite, the way they served it, it looked like, I don't know, Nutella. So I'm like, this is going to be sweet. So I spread it a lot, like completely covering the toast as if like it is like jam or, chocolate sauce or something like that. Unfortunately, though, my friend took the first bite. And the moment she did, and she's just like, her just face is like, what is this? And she's like, be careful with that thing, it's really salty. I'm like, salty? What are you saying? And then I take another big bite, okay? And then the moment I take that huge bite, I instantly regret it, like, oh no, this is way worse than I thought. And then I we basically just kept staring each other for like next 30 seconds, like, what just happened? And then we didn't eat that. Then I reached out to my friend. I'm like, hey, you told me, like, I feel like almost betrayed. You said this is going to be fun, but this doesn't taste any good. It tastes like petroleum. It tastes like diesel. And then she's like, no, there's a ratio to which like you apply butter and Vegemite. Like Vegemite is like really thin spread and a lot of butter. And it's that little bit of that salty taste that it gives, which is a good contrast between like bread, butter, and Vegemite. I'm like, well, you should have told me that before. Now that thing is off my list. Like, I hate it.
You're basically doing it wrong.
I did it wrong, yeah. And for that reason, I really hate Vegemite.
I think Marmite is actually something the UK is famous for. I think that says a lot about the UK kitchen. What's your favorite dessert?
So, my favorite dessert is tiramisu. It's nice and creamy, and it has very deep, rich flavor. And so I think to have something like that leaves a good aftertaste after you have done whatever you're eating. So any place that I go, if they have tiramisu as dessert, I'll probably have it.
It also adds to your passion for coffee?
I mean, in Italian restaurants, usually they have like espresso, and then they have tiramisu, and then they have like bunch of other stuff in between. But yeah, I really enjoy having tiramisu.
I thought your favorite is red bean paste.
Yeah, red bean. So in Japan, I had red bean mocha or red bean coffee. It was so delicious. Okay, usually people are out there, in the entertainment district of Tokyo up until like 5 in the morning drinking and like doing crazy stuff and karaoke and all of those things. I was out there hanging out with my friends, and we were
Karaoke and red bean coffee.
karaoke was on a different day, but like we got like so conversant in that moment that I actually ended up drinking like 4 or 5 red bean coffees that night, and we were there until like 5 in the morning. So while everyone was like getting drunk and like falling off the streets and puking, we were like all sober, and we were like, yeah, we had fun. We were getting high on red bean coffee.
So going back to the pyramid, if we millennials just consume more red bean coffee, so many problems could be solved, like late night puking.
Yeah, good point. What do you think? Which food would make the world a better place next to red bean coffee?
Kombucha.
Kombucha is good.
I like matcha.
Matcha. Well, those all are coffee substitutes, I think.
Kombucha is slightly acidic, means it has a little bit of alcohol, like 0.5% or something. Yeah, but that's fine. A friend made me try kombucha, and I really fell in love with it. It's great. But I don't love it as much as... So tiramisu is first on my list, closely followed by red bean coffee, and then probably kombucha. But I think like kombucha is more like a supplement drink, like not like the protein supplement, but like in general, if you are out somewhere, just want to have healthy stuff. But what's your favorite dessert, Rika?
Well, what I was naming earlier, this mochi thing is kind of like a dessert. Yeah, I think actually that reminds me, I think it's cheesecake.
Oh, do you remember that time you brought me a cheesecake? Like cheesecake, I don't know like how big. Like it was
Oh, that was in London, no?
what was the occasion?
I don't know. Probably cheesecake cravings.
Yeah, like Rika just brought me like a 16-inch like cheesecake.
16 inches?
I'm exaggerating a bit.
16 inches is a lot.
A cheesecake the size enough for like 3 people. And you had like more than half of it.
All right. Secrets are coming out in this podcast. Okay, what's your favorite dessert, Jay?
I don't. There's this like, Indian candy. Like there's like almond.
Gulab jamun.
Okay, it's like in powder form.
In powder form?
Oh, it's like the milky one?
No, I don't know what's it called.
Gulab jamun maybe? It's like brown.
But it's not in powder form. It's like balls.
Or like small balls, like.
I think you're talking about cocaine. That's the only thing in powder form I could think of. I don't think there's Indian dessert that is in powder form.
Maybe it's just the way they like the homemade.
It was probably a leftover of something.
And they turned it into a powder.
Like the crumble.
Or maybe it was weed that was like out there drying for way too long. That was us, guys. 3 millennials talking about food. If you have any suggestions, then feel free to share with us. This is me, Aalok Rathod.
This is Jay.
This is Rika.
See you next episode.